Well, let's talk about the R word from Jerome Powell, giving the most explicit acknowledgement yet that steep rate hikes could tip the U.S. economy into recession. When he was questioned by the Senate Banking Committee, take a listen.
Do you agree with the perspective that if interest rates go too high, too fast, it could drive us into a recession?
It's certainly a possibility. It's not our intended outcome at all, but it's certainly a possibility. And frankly, the events of the last few months around the world have made it more difficult for us to achieve what we want, which is 2% inflation and still a strong labor market.
Well, let's bring in our chief Asia economics correspondent, Enda Karen. So it's probably the most explicit acknowledgement yet that a soft landing is not the central case. Enda.
Yeah, the fact he's using this language, Manus, tells you the territory that we are now in with the US economy and the Fed rate hikes. He made it clear that pulling off the soft landing that they have been talking about is clearly going to be very challenging. He did say, though, the trade-off, if you were to allow inflation to accelerate unchecked, would be embedding longer-term inflation expectations that would be very damaging for the economy. So even though he warned there's going to be potential for bumpiness ahead, he did not deviate from the message that interest rates are going up and they're probably going to go up at a rapid clip. The other interesting takeaway, Manus, was the fact that he blamed some of what's happening in the US on the global story. He said, look, not just about Fed rate hikes here. Take a look at what's happening in the global economy. That slowdown is going to impact us as well.
Well, and what does it mean in terms of whether the Fed will capitulate at some point if we do get a slowdown to the economy? Or are they so committed to get inflation in check that even if we do start to head towards that lack of soft landing, that even mild recession, that they have to keep going to get inflation down?
Well, it seems to be route one for the moment. We had Charles Evans from the Chicago Fed, Danny. He was talking about maybe the need for 75 basis points again. Other officials haven't ruled out the idea of another jumbo rate hike of that size either. So the Fed, for the moment at least, are going hard on what they... Your question then becomes, okay, what kind of a recession would the US fall into? We know there's a lag with monetary policy, so you got to think maybe 6 months out from now. And you do have this debate going around, well, actually, households are in good order, banks are in better shape, and the broader labor market is pretty strong. So there is a view that it would be a pretty shallow recession. But by all accounts, the Fed are saying they are acknowledging now that there is a risk of recession, but at the moment, there's no sign that they are hitting the brakes on those rate hikes, Danny.
All right, and don't go anywhere because we, of course, have to talk about China as well. And really, it is all about Xi this morning. And in terms of the economy, President Xi has pledged to meet economic targets for the year, even as the government's zero-tolerance approach to combating COVID outbreaks and a weak housing market put the goal of growth further out of reach. So, Enda, when it comes to China, what is the likelihood that we can reach this target from Xi? What is the message from the Chinese premier?
Very interesting message from him. He's made these comments to the BRICS Business Forum. He said that China is determined to hit those economic targets